everybody to St. John's Church of Faith and to our Meta Development class. I'm Reverend Isabelle Moll and Reverend Jack Lehman. We are doing a class in Meta Development. And I need to tell you, first of all, this is a class that's very serious. So today, after you leave, I want to know if you think you want to come back or not. This is very important because I need to have everybody working on one mind. So does Jack need to have everybody working on one mind to benefit not us, but to benefit you. And I need to tell you right up front, I don't know about Jack, I'm very strict. I don't want anybody talking in class. We have afterward, I will ask if you have any questions, so jot it down on a paper, and then we can talk about it. But these classes that I found, I'm cleaning out my library, and I found all these classes that we've had for 40 years, literally 40 years. And I'm going through them and I'm going, this is such good material. And I see what's happening, excuse me when I say this, to the New Age and their meditation and their channeling points. Something is missing. Something's missing. And I do believe, and I spoke to my very dear friend Carol Parrish about this yesterday, and she agrees, that people are going to all different people that are doing classes that have never trained in a strict atmosphere or a strict environment with respect. Because simply they read a book and they're doing what the book says, but they're forgetting one thing. Most of your material that you will find, it will tell you, what is meditation? What is meditation? Is it just sitting there? Is it just sitting there and phasing out? No, not at all. So I wrote some things down here. Meditation is 3 phases of your mind. The first phase is your normal mind. It's the normal mind. What is the normal mind? Maybe it's an abnormal mind. Because why? We worry about family, we worry about our hobbies, we worry about our friend issues, we worry about money. This is a big one. This is a big one. Some people have to worry about food. And of course, some people have to worry about a job. But usually, these are the things and all these other little tricky things that enter into our mind on a daily basis. So when we meditate, when we start to meditate, we have to learn how to remove all of these thought forms and emotions that are crept up in our normal mind. These are 3 parts of the brain, by the way, also. Anyway, but the normal mind is the one that we have to control before we can go into the higher consciousness. How many people agree on that? Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, the whole reason for meditation, I'll see if I can read my notes. The whole reason for meditation is to become in alignment with our soul, the spark of life, the divine love. That's why all of you are here tonight. Because you're searching and your soul is searching. Your soul is searching to have that divine connection, that triad. Now what is a triad? It's a connection of 3 beings. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, or it could be body, mind, and spirit. It could be body, soul, and however you want, but it's divine God. You're connecting with the moad of yourself, which is when you begin. That little spark that came to earth that you want to go back to, because your soul is always going to yearn to go back to that peace. And of course, when we come on earth, what happens? We get all this what? This garbage. This garbage. So normally what people do is they will think, well, you go to a doctor and The doctor will say, well, you know, a lot of your things are due to stress. A lot of your things are due to stress. Well, what do? First thing you do, he says meditate. Does the doctor know how to meditate? Does he tell you to clear your mind of all things? And get function right with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? Absolutely not. Does the doctor tell you to pray before every session? I don't think so. Some might. Some might. Because that's very important. Because you need that prayer and you need that belief in all there is. The belief in God, the Holy Spirit, and the Christ consciousness. Now, that's what we want to obtain. Doesn't it say? Jesus says, what I do, you can do and greater. But he didn't go around with his head full of all this garbage. Because when we have all of this garbage in our head, in our mind, we go into meditation, you're going to attract not nice things. You're going to attract all the things that are floating around out there. Because you have 50 people in a group, say in a room. 50 people are sitting there, they're not concentrating on love, light, or peace. You put them in a room, and you're going to see, they're going to think, oh my goodness, look at my dog is sick, and this is happening to me, and oh my goodness, this is happening, and I got to be there, and I got to do that. You never can clear that mind pattern. And that's what we have to do. Some people say in meditation, stop thinking. Hello? What happens when you stop thinking? Hello? What happens? You're dead. You will always have mental activity in your brain. Always. Till the day you die. So when they say, stop thinking, blank your mind, you want to just get these things organized. You want to organize your things in your mind. And you want to overpower them with what? Love of God, light of God, and the Holy Spirit coming in. Even Buddha says, a higher power. Buddha's meditations are very, very similar to what you're going to learn here tonight. But these were esoteric meditations that we're learning. And the first thing we need to do, because meditation, we know, the human being can't live without say you can't live without breathing. Well, so it is, the soul really can't live to the fullest life on this earth without the spirituality. And that comes with meditation. Be true to yourself. Write that down. Be true to yourself. Socrates, these great philosophers have all told us, be true to yourself and try to overcome or eliminate the problem that's bothering you, that you're working on. No one's saying it's just going to go away overnight, because you know the masters have learned to meditate for years. The monks in monasteries are there for years and years and years. So we know that meditation is a lifeline for the soul, and it's coming out more and more medically. But we need to teach the people that want to learn to meditate the proper steps in meditation and how to retain them. So tonight you're not going to go into any deep meditation. Reverend Jack is going to take you through a thing to tell you how to relax and how to move and how to relax, just to be yourself. And that's going to be wonderful for you. See, we were talking when the soul comes to the earth, it kind of remembers, like from up to 7 years old, and then it kind of forgets that peace. And if that soul comes into an angry atmosphere, it's going to become more angry than most children. But then from 12 to 30, you're going to find out that you're out experiencing the world. Now, how many can tell me they didn't experience the world between that time?
Oh, I did.
That's right. If you say you didn't, I have to say, I don't think so. Because it's an experience that you have to go through in order to achieve achieve the state of the Christ consciousness. So, like I told you before, the soul has this urge to go back to God somewhere from 30 on. Somewhere. You'll feel, that's why some of the new wave churches are being so full with what they call the yuppies years ago. Remember the yuppies? Because they're searching. Why? Because they have the big bucks, they don't have to worry. They have their friends, they can do all these things. But they're missing something. They're missing that part of the spark. They're missing the connection. And so this is what we hope to achieve through this whole class. So when we go into this, then the second phase of our meditation is going to be the concentrating mind. Now this is the mind where you sit down, you're going to get quiet. They'll say, well, quiet your mind and be still. But you'll have all these distractions come in. How many people ever experienced that? How many people meditate now? How many people meditate? Okay, do you have all these little mixed up things coming into your head? And you can't focus on one thing of getting to where you want to go, that you get frustrated. What happens when you're frustrated? You say,
It's not working.
forget it, it's not working. What is that? We're coming back here to the normal mind now. We're coming to this, because you know what? You're not remembering what is your object of meditating. If your object of meditating is to connect, to be the greatest medium in the world, to be the greatest healer in the world, if that's your objective, forget it. Because you have to know who you are first. See why we're coming back to who you are? Who you are. And that's why we don't have success in our meditations. Because of that. Because the objective world is a world of personality. And your subjective world, of course, is the world of spirit. But after we obtain all that growth, we can go on a nice gradual keel. But it's not going to be at this class, next class, or the following class. It might be, you have to be persistent. Because how would it be if God would have said, well, I'm going to give up after the first day. This is too much work. Okay? Would we be here? No. So let's think of that when we talk about it. Because our soul yearns to go into the mysteries of the beginning of that spark. Our soul, it urges. It wants to say, no, I want to go back to the beginning. What is the beginning? It's the moad. What is the moad? It's the beginning, that single cell, that spark. To going back before that you lived in a peace before you came into the world. This is why we need to reflect so many times. We need to have this reflection on who we are because of our life experiences. Because if we don't sit back and learn these lessons of physical, emotional, and mental, it's like we can be walking around in this confused labyrinth, can't we? We can just keep walking around in a circle, and what are we doing? We're going to be constantly repeating. And then we say, why? Why? What are we doing? We're going back. We don't have the focus on what is the true reason that maybe your soul doesn't know, but you're here. So that's telling me that your soul and your spirit are looking for something more to grasp on, to hold on. What do we talk? We hear all these things about the secret, don't we? The law of attraction. Hello? This is the oldest thing in the world. The law of attraction. And I'm so grateful that they came out because it's waking a lot of people up. But they're having controversies on that too now, if you're listening to a lot of that, because a lot of the reports that you're getting is because people are going like this and they're forgetting they have to overcome the self, and become one with yourself. So we talked about the normal mind, we're talking about the concentrated mind. This is the second step in meditation. And this is the hardest step you're going to accomplish. The hardest step. It's the most difficult. Because you know what? You need to have that focus point. You need to have that focus point on why you want to meditate. You don't want to meditate, when you start meditating, you don't want to meditate on anybody else. Because you are meditating because your soul wants to do it. Your soul wants to find out. Your soul wants to come in and say, hey, I want to feel like peace here. I want to be happy like I was. I know it's there. How many people had that feeling? I know I was more peaceful somewhere.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Everybody has that. I know. Well, that's because your soul wants to go back there. It wants to re-experience that in the earth light. And that's okay. Now, sometimes when we get here and they say, okay, you're meditating, you do really good, and all of a sudden you'll say, well, you know, you shouldn't have done that today, you did this. That's our lower self talking again to our mind, which is the brain, you know. And what happens, we have to learn to focus. When that happens, we have to focus on a word. We can focus on a mantra. We can focus on a certain song that will keep you focused. But we got to learn to do that too. We got to learn to focus on something. Now today, I lit a candle. We were taught to do it with a candle. Or our mentor, we used to sit in his living room and meditate to a fire in the fireplace.
That's a good one. Actually.
Wonderful. We could have those flames go up, and he'd have us have those flames go up. Remember this, Lloyd and Nancy? We'd have the flames go up, and then you know what? He'd say, okay, lower it. And we'd lower the flame. It was beautiful. And we could do that if we focus. Why am I doing this here? Because I need to go back there and refocus, or I wouldn't be here. Got it? See what I'm saying? When anybody says they know it all, wrong, because they don't know it, you know. Because I truly believe that we have to constantly go back and what we talk about, this is my philosophy, it's not anybody else's. But I think what we talk about in our lectures, in our classes, it's because we had to review it and relearn it ourselves. I know I do. So maybe it's my feeling. But anyway, we know that while you're doing this distraction, your mind also might say, oh, you might say, I'm going to say love. I'm going to say love, 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 love. And all of a sudden, your mind's going to say, oh, I love candy. You see? This is because maybe you do, you know? Maybe, you know. And it'll keep on going, but you got to go back. You can't give up, and you got to master that concentration. That's what we're telling you. Because you know what? How hard it is, it's well worth the blessing. The blessing that you receive is going to be wonderful. Now, what's the difference between concentration and meditation? Well, let me give you an example. Supposing you have oil. You have this oil, and remember when you pour it out of the bottle with one of those drip things? It comes out drip, drip, drip. And then you're going, okay, another drip, another drip. Another drip, you know, it takes a while to get them out of those bottles. But what happens when it doesn't, it's not flowing. It's not flowing. That's how it is in this mind. It's not flowing. But then when you take that little thing out, you can pour that oil and it flows beautifully, doesn't it? See, when you have that flowing, that's when you become deeper into your whole being of spirituality. And your true knowledge of yourself starts to present itself. And a lot of people, that's maybe why they don't want to know who they are. And they won't, you can help them, but you can only help them so far. They don't want to look in the mirror and see who they are. Reverend Jack and I did a class, and we're going to do that exercise one day, where we had everybody look in the mirror and look into their own eyes. That is the most difficult thing you can do. To look in your eyes, and we're going to do it. We have the mirrors here somewhere. But we did this class on knowing who you are many years ago. And we need to do that again. But the thing is, if you start using just the word spiritual love as your mantra, spiritual love, you can sing it, spiritual love, or whatever word you want to. I'm using that as an example. What happens pretty soon? You're going to start loving yourself more. You're going to start loving that flower that's planted in Mother Earth. You're going to start reflecting those love thoughts in everything you contact. And you won't have this rehash, because you know why? You're not going to care. Because you have that divine love now that is opened up within you. You know, Albert Einstein tells us that everything in the universe is relative to everything else. And we got to remember that this divine love that we hope to feel for our soul is going to be that connection that we have with everything. And that truly is, my friends, the love of God. The love of God. Now, true meditation will increase the light of consciousness. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you say, wow, that was good. I did it for 5 minutes without having this normal mind interrupt me. And that's good. If you meditate longer than 20 minutes, you're sleeping. Every master will tell you that. And I guess that's okay to fall asleep when you're meditating. I don't know. But if you sit, you know, that's what they usually say. When you start out, do it 5 minutes. Don't try to do the 20-minute thing, because you're going to squirm and this is going to itch. Did you ever do that? Did you ever try to sit so? Oh, my head itches now. My foot itches now. And, oh, no. Now I got something on my nose. Everything always bothers you. This is because this doesn't want to get quiet. You have to quiet this mind. You know, that's like our brain tells us a lot of times. Our brain gives us mixed messages, doesn't it? It does. It does. So, when you have this true meditation, you'll have this light, and you'll feel more love for yourself. More love for yourself. And you know what? Then you're going to start recognizing. Hear the words, Nancy? Yes. Recognizing. You're going to start recognizing who you are. I don't know if a lot of us want to do that, do we? But you recognize who you are, where you've been and what you've done, and then you release it and you let it go. You kiss it up to God. And when you release all this negative thought forms that we got floating around, and everybody else's thought forms in the world, now think about this. Just think of the world and the situation with the war and the chaos and all of this, and everybody's worried that we just get all overwhelmed with this. Newspapers, media, everything makes us overwhelmed, and we don't even realize it. We don't realize. A lot of people go to sleep with the news. They listen to the news and then they go to bed. How many people do that? Well, from now on, listen to the news at 6 o'clock, and at 12 when you go to bed, put on nice music and fall asleep with it. Matter of fact, I fall asleep with a cooking channel, and I think maybe I need to change that. See what I'm feeding? A bell just went off now. Do you see what I'm
You're eating all that stuff you watched them prepare.
Right. Subconsciously. Hey, see, I got a light. See, and then when you do that, you recognize who you are and what you want to accomplish in your life for your soul. Not for your neighbor, not for your husband, not for your wife, not for your friend. You find out who you are. Because when you do that, you're going to find this whole new opening. And you're going to be the gentle person. And you're not going to want to be in that environment. Because God is going to be working directly. And that's what happens, is then it's radiate. You're going to radiate. So it's going to be recognition, you're going to release it, and then you're going to radiate with God's love. And with God's love and light, nothing can touch you. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
If we believe it. How many believe that?
That's right.
If we believe it. So this is why we have to go back and reprogram our thinking and our thoughts. Example, when you went outside and you didn't have shoes on and it was raining or a little cold, what did your mother tell you? You're going to get a cold. Put something on your head, you're going to get a cold. You know that works to this day. Works to this day. But it's the programming that we have to learn to overcome, to have a new growth, a new spout. You know, going back to the oil, you have a pitcher of oil. If it's full with old stuff, with old oil, you're not going to put any new oil in there, are you? Because why? Because the old oil probably rancid at this time, and you want to put in new oil, you're going to spoil the new oil. So why don't you want to empty it out and do the container properly? So that's when all of this, when we have the what? Let's repeat that. Recognition. And then we release. And then we radiate. We're going to have what? The connection, the triad, the connection of our true self with our soul, our spirit, and our God. Isn't that wonderful? To be able to do that? Hopefully that's what we will achieve in this class. Because meditation will service the world. It'll service the world. And I've said this many times in my services, whoever heard it. John Baker Eddy had said during World War II, if I have 12 kahunas, everybody know what a kahuna is? A kahuna is a holy medicine man in Hawaii. And he said, if I have 12 kahunas and I will place them around Hawaii, Hawaii will never be attacked. Now think about that. So through meditation in mind and our physical counterpart with the brain, we can control the inner man within us. And then we can control a lot of issues all around us. And when we start being able to open up and control our own issues, then we will be able to open up to the world. So often, we think we're not instruments. We certainly are. We're instruments. You can be an instrument of all negative energy also, because of the old thinking patterns. Now, I'm going to tell you another thing which might shock a lot of people. In this normal mind, some of us had very unstable families, didn't we?
Yes.
How many feel that they had a very unstable, what do they call that today? What do they call it?
Dysfunctional.
What do they call it?
Dysfunctional.
Do you think there is a normal family in America? No. Absolutely not. So they put so much ideas out there about dysfunction that people start to believe it. The minute you have a little quirk or you don't want to recognize who you are, we'll say, oh, that's because of my mother. That's because of my father. How old are you now?
Very.
You chose to come to that family for a purpose. So now we have to work through that purpose. How many people agree with that? Sure, we chose who our parents are going to be. Sometimes we didn't make good choices. That's our fault, you know. But, you know, we got to overcome that. And no, God bless them. They did the best they could when they had it at that time. You know, they had to worry. I'm a 1939 World War II baby. Some of us, you are. Were you in World War II?
I was before World War II.
You were before. Well, all of that stuff. So we had like different upbringings than the kids today. We knew what it was like not to waste food. Today you'll see a child go in and throw 3/4 of a hamburger away. I just want to scream, and the mother says, it's okay, he's not hungry. Then you don't buy the kid a hamburger. You see, this is what we have to work on, those kind of programs. And once we do that, We're going to be wonderful because we've got to remember that the space is all full of thought forms. So when we're ranging between light and darkness all the time. How many people agree to that? How many agree that the path to spirituality is very narrow and straight? How many people believe that? Absolutely. Once you say, "Here I am, Lord," and you're on that path, I want to find a way. You got to keep focusing. You got to focus on the divine light of loving God. That's why what you're looking for. Because we see it all over. We see beauty and we see something that isn't so pretty. And we have all of these coming to us. We see love and we see hate in the world, don't we? We look at the news in Iraq and we see all these things. That's ugliness and it's hatred. And why are we doing? We're allowing that to penetrate in our minds. And our minds get this clutter. So I truly believe that when we all get our own heads and minds straightened out and get rid of the confusion and the old stuff that's there that we don't need anymore, can we only put new divine God's love into it? Because true meditation will shed the light on all of this darkness if we are true to who? Who are we true to? That's right, true to yourself. You know, in Genesis, this is nothing new. In Genesis 18 to 19, it was in Sodom and Gomorrah. And God goes to Abraham and he says, you know, this city is very corrupt. They're immoral. They're doing everything wrong. They're practicing a lot of negative things. So I'm just going to clean out this whole city. And Abraham begged him. He said, oh no, please don't do that. Please, he pleaded with God. God said, all right, I'll make a deal with you. You give me 10 people out of your both cities. Give me 10 people who are obedient and who follow the light of God, the light of love, and